Curnow's coming. He's timed it. He's got it! As he led the way and won the Coleman medal. Now he's gone back to back. He's a star for all to see.
Charlie Curnow, 110 games, Pom, 224 goals. He's born on the 3rd of February, 1997. This is your man, so I feel like I should pass it over to you pretty quickly.
Born just close enough to have to partake in Valentine's Day. Poor Charlie. If it was a week later, he could maybe take the gloss of it. But 2-time Coleman already, soon to be 3. A man that's growing before our very eyes, I feel as well. I feel like just whenever you've got a question about him, he answers it. Phenomenal year last year, wasn't it? I mean, the guy was an animal at times, particularly when we started to hit the front. He was a staple when we were struggling, but when we really started to turn around, you saw him have a day out. The Collingwood game for me is probably the best we've seen Charlie play. The game we won, I thought that really showed a man that can do what he needs to do. And I know last year I said that we're going to be talking about a 100-goal footballer. I feel like this is the year now. I feel like he's really added that string. People forget Charlie's big thing last year was his ability to take contested marks, which people forget. I think people always think Harry is the main man. This guy was ranked number 1 for contested marks in the league, top 5 for marks inside 50, top 10 for score involvements. He's adding the strings. He's adding the strings, is Charlie. And we've just talked about Orazio. People will talk about Harry. He hasn't played with anyone at his level yet. They haven't been there. Harry hasn't been the best Harry. Orazio hasn't played with him yet. That makes him even more devastating when there's players around there that can take the game away. There was points last year where Charlie was it, which I think people forget. And you saw that in the finals. Everyone did focus on Charlie and he struggled. This time next year, we're having the conversation. Harry's hit his best. Orazio's hit his best. Jesse's hit his best. This guy will blitz 100. Blitz 100 goals when that happens.
I guess it's a good time to touch on the narrative that you see has already started to be formed by the mainstream media. I think David King probably started this off. Kane Corns has had his piece about it, and that's, the final series. And look, the recency bias always creeps in whenever we're talking about players. We always remember their last few games for whatever reason. It's the latest, it's the last memory we have of them. But without Charlie, we don't play finals. It's really as simple as that. That's how I see it. I know that we're a much better team, but I feel like he was instrumental in us winning the game. I can think of 3 games off the top of my head. Geelong round 2, Collingwood the second time, and the Gold Coast game, where if he did not play, I do not think we win those games. And, for all the talk about his final series, I just think that adds another challenge for him. I don't think much phases him, to be honest. He's already been through, I would say, the worst in terms of the fear of his career not even happening again. So I think he's already had the grounding. We were doing the previews for Charlie Curnow 3 years ago with an attitude and a tone of, it would be good to see him play again just one more time, but probably not going to see the best of him because it's just too many surgeries now. So, I'm not worried about his final series. I think you can only get better at playing finals football the more you play finals football. I think also, let's look at the context. Sydney game, Harry was a little off. He got the concussion as well. Then he didn't play the next game. So you're coming up against the Ds who have Stephen May and Jake Lever with no Harry Mackay in the side to relieve that pressure. And then, the prelim final, kicks a goal. He wasn't at his best, but I think it's unfair to suggest that we should be focusing squarely on his final series.
You look at the people complaining about the final series, though. I mean, they don't know anything about football, that's for sure. And I'd say 95.9 of them don't know anything about life. Do you know what I mean? It's that simple. Underline it. Do you know what I mean? Quote me on that. I mean, at the end of the day, the guy, literally, as you say, he was our only hope at times. Like, Charlie Curnow is the reason we play finals. Let's not mistake that. And he's taken the pressure off Harry. He's repaid Harry for the times Harry's led the forward line when Charlie was hurt. And yeah, the final series wasn't great. I think if you look at it, though, in isolation, I think the Melbourne game, they triple teamed him and it allowed the midfield to stand up and kick goals from other avenues. The difference is, though, that, do you know what I mean? He's the only forward that features inside the top 10 of players' minutes played percentage per game. So I think a big part of that was fatigue as well. But you look at that, he was double teamed all 3 games. So that's something that he's got to adapt, but that's also something the team has to adapt. And going back to my earlier point, once Harry's at full flight, once the Smalls are at full flight, that can't happen anymore. Because you watch the Melbourne game, it was very easy. Once you took that exit ball to Charlie, kind of came off and Carlton had to get creative. You look at the mid-season, though, everyone was partaking. The great game is the Collingwood game where they did a number on him quite early with Charlie. Then other players started getting involved. They had to loosen their structure a bit. Charlie found a way. So as we move on, that's going to be something that's developed. But, I mean, come on. Do you know what I mean? I think Charlie's already proven the guy is great. The guy is great. And I think the narrative for me, and John nails it, I think the narrative is if you're a Carlton fan, you're not a real Carlton fan if you're complaining about Charlie, because you're already buying into the narrative. So do you know what I mean? You're already buying into it. He needs our support. And for me, you're either stupid or don't understand life if you think Charlie has had a bad final series because it had an F word. Do you know what I mean? I think he'll be better for the experience, and I think he'll prove people wrong. And you know what? I wouldn't like to be a defender week 1 of finals against Mr. Charlie.
Yeah. What I noticed about him this year, I mean, he kicked, obviously, 81 goals for the year, so goal kicking became more of a feature. He had teams in all sorts. The Collingwood game is a great example. They resorted, he had them panicking. He kind of gets into defenders' heads. He had them panicking all year. And then I think his ability to get other players involved in the game is where I started to see that next layer for him. And there's been a comparison made to the way Jeremy Cameron plays now, where a little bit more up the ground. You see him kicking the ball inside 50 a little bit more. I have flashes of, Charlie kicking over the top to Matt Owies against the Ds, moments like that. I'd like to see more of that because Charlie's one of, I would say, 2 or 3 players in the side where he's got, I don't know what word to use other than the magic. Like when he gets the ball, things happen. Magical things happen that not many players can do. And his ability to get his teammates involved is how he shares that magic. And so, can he kick 100 goals? He can. Certainly capable. Do you think we need him to kick 100 goals? That's where I'm questioning, because I'm not sure if we try and maybe use him a little bit more up the ground than what we have in the last 2 seasons.
For me, I thought it was a no-brainer. I'm glad the media, the one time I'll support the media is they've started to suggest that. I think centre-half forward is easier for Charlie. I think his entry inside 50 is superior to Harry's. And I think Harry would benefit more being closer to goal and being that force and really relying on his one-on-one work, which we know Harry is a freak. He can beat 5-6 players on his own. And I will say that Harry is superior in that contested marking than Charlie. I do think as well, the other thing as well, which really excited me from watching just the training, was the real effort on forward half. Forward half, handballs and creating space and changing the angles. And Wowdy made a great point. I think it was Wowdy or... No, sorry, Lou. I apologise. Lou Felina. Carlton's instinct, and it's not Harry's fault, but because we've had Harry for so long, the midfield has a tendency to bang it in and hope Harry can do it. And Charlie's a different type of fish. He likes the ball coming at pace and being able to move his forwards and beat his defender to the ball. that did excite me because I feel like if we can change the angles, that's where Charlie's strong. That goal versus Melbourne, you did see that. He dragged May out of position and beat him to the ball, and that's where he's strong. So that excited me that we saw the forward half movement, the forward half in the handballs and changing the angles and not looking for that deep entry. That will help him out as well. And for me, I feel like Charlie's always going to get us that 60 goal mark. I think the 80, 100 goals will come from when everyone's playing at their pomp and it becomes hard. And you see Geelong, when they won the flag, if Tom Hawkins didn't get you, Cameron got you. If they didn't get you, Close, Stengel, they got you. And that was why it was so hard to defend against them. There was 40 goals coming from 3 players. That's when Carlton will be a force. And that's when Coleman's might be out of the question at that point. Because you might have 3 blokes on 60. And that's been very exciting for Carlton.
It's a really good point. We have, we've made a prelim, that's great. But I don't think we've come close to nailing that clinical entry inside 50. We've seen it here and there. I think when Jack Martin plays, we see it a little bit more. I think when these types play, maybe Jack Silvani as well. But I'm with you. Once that ball enters our forward 50 in positions that are a lot more advantageous to our forwards than what we currently see, it's going to be a lot better. Right now, if you look at the goals that the forwards kick, I don't know what the stat is, but how many of them are from the boundary line? It's wide right now. And that's probably a layer of growth for the forward line in general. The way that their leading patterns off the ball, the way they create space for others. Look, it's easier said than done. They're the professionals and they'll figure it out. But there's no doubt there are layers to the way we move off the ball that can improve the opportunities we give Charlie and Harry. And, I'm just looking forward to that. And, all of a sudden we're talking about Charlie Curnow again, entering his 9th season in the AFL, and wild, mate.
And he'll have his 3rd and final Coleman this year. Do you know what I mean? His 3rd and final Coleman.
Well, I look forward to it. That's Charlie Curnow. How do you feel about Charlie going into season 2024? Let us know in the comments below.